Hello my friends, today as the result of the very long-range strikes, Russia lost the near progress enterprise, which is used to produce some of the very sensitive components for the Russian military electronics, like for example antennas Crimea, which were firstly used in Ukraine, but Russia took that technology and upscaled the production. They put those antennas on Shahed drones and even on aviation gliding bombs. Well, it seems like not any longer, because Ukraine hit this facility with a very precise FP5 strike. FP5 is the cruise missile, and also Ukraine added more with smaller drones, FP1 and FP2. Yeah, the local mall also lost some of the windows because of the close location to the near progress enterprise, but no one was hurt really. No casualties among civilians, which is, I would say, great. And the main damage, the strike, is conducted on the building which was responsible for the production of the military components. We have the satellite image from Cyber Boroshno already, and they say that inside those buildings there was a huge fire. The trace of the fire is visible elsewhere in this infrastructure. Two places of the looted drone collisions, and of course the main building sustained damages. And this is the facility on the map. For now we have not so good satellite images, but before it was shown that something was hit out there, some buildings, structural elements. And of course, at least for some period of time, Russia will not be capable to produce those very important components for their electronics, which they use in military. What is interesting about the Crimea components, that basically it is the control unit, which is used, for example, in the drones, and it has the electronic warfare protection, so it's almost impossible to jam those controllers, which is of course not that good for Ukrainian air defense. But now Ukraine is using drone interceptors, for example, to shut down Russian Shahed drones. However, at the same time, Russia is using, for example, aviation gliding bombs against even civilian infrastructure, and today I'm going to speak about that, because Russia unalived more than 20 Ukrainians today by hitting lots of the settlements not that far away from the front line. Yeah, guys, sorry for my language, I cannot say some of the words because of the YouTube restrictions, so I use unalived, like cancelled and so on. That's my vocabulary. I'm sorry for it. And here we have the video showing how Ukraine sent FP5 presents to Russian Cheboksary. Well, allegedly, many of the missiles definitely were hit, and Zelensky himself says that the effectiveness is 20%, but it's the first time Ukraine launches those for such a range, 1,000 miles away from Ukraine, 1,600 kilometers or 1,500. Those missiles, they maneuver, so actually they cover more of the distance while flying. The direct distance is 1,000 miles. Crazy beautiful. Now I would say mainly it's just a beginning, because Ukraine is looking to develop more of the missiles and upscale drone production. Ukraine has plans for ballistics, and those will be very hard to intercept for Russian air defense. And I think at the end of this year we're gonna see them deployed one by one, and then Ukraine will start the massive production. As Bloomberg published an article today, 70%, yes, 70% of Russians, they live already within the range of Ukrainian drones and missiles. And we see that Russia is not capable to provide safety for their own citizens, and those citizens, they're not okay with that. They ask regime, they ask Putin, like, what is happening? Why Tuapse is burning? Why Ukrainian drones are flying, hitting random infrastructure? We are sick and tired of this war. And that was the reason also of Ukrainian long-range strikes, not just to disturb Russian military and Russian oil, but also to cause this uncertainty among Russian society, that the only reason for Putin was to start the war to protect Russians. Yeah, we're going to liberate the Ukrainians, we're going to protect Russians, we're going to unite, in this big Russian peace, Russian world. But in fact, he screwed up completely. His special military operation is the reason for what is happening nowadays in Russia. Before, everything was more or less normal. Even with Crimea occupation, pro-Russian parties were presented in Ukrainian government. Now, no. My friends, just a short reminder for you, please press like to this video and also subscribe for the channel. It means a lot for algorithms and for me personally. Also, if you can, you may support my job on Patreon. The link for it is in the video description right below, or on membership of the channel by pressing button join, but that's the financial support. But because of that, you're making this content possible. You basically employ me for this job. Thank you so much. You are amazing. You are awesome. And let's continue with the video. And you know, guys, by the time I'm recording this video, there are multiple of the drones spotted in Crimea. Well, Ukraine hit some of the infrastructure there the last night, and I'm gonna tell about it in this video, but probably we're gonna receive more of the information very soon. And allegedly, in the western coast of Crimea, in the village of Myrne, Russia lost Panzer S-1 air defense system during today's attack, but we'll of course obtain some of the visual confirmation. As we already obtained the image from primary drone unit of Ukrainian army who visited Crimea just yesterday, and you see the Russian air defense tried to shut down the drone, but they were not successful. And here you can see the beach, lots of the cones were there. And what is this? Some of the boat which could be used by the Coast Guard of Russia. And here we have one more boat that was probably just a random one, maybe carrying some of the coal or what is there on the background. Nevertheless, it was capotted as well, and I think for the size of the boat, it was definitely capotted because FP2 drones, well, they're not small, but to disable a big ship, it's not enough. For the smaller one, it's pretty much okay. Especially then they hit the most sensitive part, and close to the back there are all of the systems. And some of the hangar of the Russian military base in Crimea, precise hit straight to the gates. Well, I'm not sure about the penetration of this one, but what I see now, those drones, they are very precise. There's almost no latency in control, it is visible, they're not that shaky as before. Now our guys, they're capable really to nail it precisely to particular area which they want. And probably the most interesting target for the last night is this BE-12 amphibious airplane. Well, Russia already lost many of those before, they're based in Kacha airfield, and regularly Ukraine visits this one, Belbek, which is not that far away, and all of the Russian bases. BE-12 is used by the Russian Navy to identify Ukrainian drone boats and some of the submarines. You may see that one propeller is absent, so this BE-12 was probably on the maintenance, or Russians just removed propellers for purpose to show that maybe this airplane is disabled, and for the Ukrainian drone operators to search for another target. But no, propeller installation is very fast on those airplanes, especially then you have another one, it's just a matter of few hours to put blades there and to make this plane operational. Russia tried to mask it with those nets, but as you see, it doesn't help. And what else? Wow, what the hell? This is FPV drone. FPV drone targets Russian Coast Guard boat. You may see a video is very detailed, even though it's black and white, but it's similar to what we see on the front lines. So mother drone boat deploys those FPV drones very close to Crimean coast, and those FPVs, they're flying to target, I would say, smaller boats, because what's they use to hit the big ships with FPV, maybe their radars, antennas could be targeted, but it's better, of course, to choose smaller target for FPV. Alright, and as for today, we have this image shared on some of the channels saying that there is the kaboom in Krasnoperikopsk. Krasnoperikopsk is the northern part of Crimea, and there is one of the Russian bases and also Russian supply hub. I wonder what was hit, but the fire is definitely happening on the ground, so it's not the air defense system in operation. So today, Ukraine definitely decided to visit lots of the infrastructure in Russia. Just to show you on the map, Krasnoperikopsk is here, and there is the big train station, which could be on fire, but I'm not sure. We'll check out the information later on. Gonna keep you updated. Plus, we have the reports that in Tula, Novgorod, Ulyanovsk, Samara region, Kuban, Crimea, Zaporizhia, Kherson regions, in Donetsk, Luhansk regions, Ukrainian drones were spotted. So again, full-scale Ukrainian drone strike. Every night, Ukraine sends hundreds of drones. So there are kabooms, we don't see the visual information, but on the background it is heard, those kabooms. It is interesting and very fast publishing from some of the local CCTV cam. Well, there are reports that Panzer in Myrny struck, yes, I said about it. We have also the confirmation of the fire on the ground, so it's not the air defense once again. It's on fire, the ammunition is exploding, and the glow is visible. Krymsky Veter reported. Krymsky Veter, that's the opposition channel. 5 powerful explosions in a row in Saki. Saki is the very important Russian fighter jet airfield, but Russia started to base there Sukhoi 25 and some of the helicopters because it's closer to Zaporizhia region. I remember how Saki was hit with lots of the Neptune missiles and was nearly devastated back in 2022. I think it was summertime or autumn time. Nevertheless, Russia repaired and put new aircraft there, but we see that it's again been hit. Two powerful explosions at Kacha airfield. Kacha is the place where I showed you the base for BE-12. So maybe Ukraine hunts more of those. And this photo is from Crimea, looks like a residential area. Maybe Russian air defense worked quite well there. And again, we have the compilation of the strikes from Magyar drone unit. Multiple of the antennas of the Russian army were disabled with the help of the FP1 and FP2 drones. Those are massively in Ukrainian production. You can see that the strikes were definitely successful. Also, ammunition storages, some of the buildings where Russians hide. Ukrainian drones are being used elsewhere, not just to hit airplanes or air defense. Now, even like those dugouts of the Russian army where they stored their vehicles, it was disabled too. Plus trains, this one was moving and it was hit on the way. Big locomotive. And what is that? Oh, looks like Panzer 1S. Maybe. Well, some of the Kamaz vehicle with something on the top. Could be just a refueling truck, but Ukraine is very, very successful with all of those strikes. Russian military bases, this one was protected. Now Ukraine has an absolute win in using middle strikes and also, I would say, long-range strikes. And for the last couple of months, Ukraine used more drones hitting Russian middle and longer range than the Russians, for example, used Shahed drones, which is amazing. And NOIL reports says us that the fire was reported in Sakhmarsk thermal power plant in Orenburg, Russia. Fire crews were deployed and definitely we have some of the evidence of this power plant on fire. Allegedly, no Ukrainian drones were involved. Something happens in Russia. Someone smoking at the wrong places. Continue to do it. Plus, SBU drones visited Kirish Nefteorgsynthos refinery in Kirishi, oil pumping station in Russia, Leningrad region. SBU drones hit 3 AVT, that's the processing units, basically those pillar type of the constructions, technologically advanced, and for Russia to restore them, it takes time, efforts, money. Well, this facility is being disabled, according to information published. Petroleum product tank was also hit on territory in Kirishi oil pumping station. And we have the evidence. So every night, Russian oil infrastructure is suffering. And of course, we have the confirmation from NASA fire satellite images. Fantastic job, Ukraine. This is definitely Ukraine. It is just too much for many smokers to smoke, yeah? So drones of Ukrainian army were here. Oh, and Russians have reported that they've lost one more helicopter. It's Mi-8 transport one. I wonder how many of the Russian soldiers and pilots were inside. It is definitely a fat target for Ukrainian defenders, but once in a while those helicopters, they just accidentally collapse, they crash. It could be due to flaws in maintenance, some of the neglectance in flying. So yeah, it happens in Russia. The loss was confirmed by multiple of the Russian Z military channels, also affiliated with the Russian airspace forces. And the biggest aviation-related Russian male blogger Fighter Bomber commented and confirmed about the helicopter kaput. But so far he hasn't said about how many people on board and who was in particular, because sometimes those helicopters are being used to transport even Russian generals. Yes. Well, at the same time, Russia launched the strikes, for example, on Dnipro city, even ballistic missiles, they hit some of the local enterprise. Well, it's hard to say definitely what they hit, but in the cities of Zaporizhia and also in Kramatorsk, Russia used aviation gliding bombs, and they've hit just the buildings, random ones in the central place of those settlements, where people were walking, living, and that caused lots of them. Civilian life losses today for Ukraine, I think close to 26 already, and many more wounded. For example, here it was the repair facility for cars, a civilian repair facility, you may see civilian usual cars, so it was hit and multiple of the people perished. You may say the same, usual cars, those are not even pickup trucks or something, they were inside on maintenance. So it was in Zaporizhia, but also Kramatorsk was hit. So if Russians do not hesitate targeting Ukrainian civilian infrastructure, why should Ukraine hold itself from the long-range strikes on 8th and 9th of May? It is useless. It is just giving Russians their present to peacefully perform their show on a red square. Well, I think this time Ukraine will not agree on ceasefire. Like, I don't see the reason for it, and I see more escalation before the main nines. Alright, fantastic news from the United States of America. The United States Department, maybe Pentagon, Department of War as they call it, has approved the sale to Ukraine a bunch of JDAM aviation gliding bombs. This is ER modification, which means extended range, capable to reach the target for around 70 kilometers of the distance. Well, depends on the altitude from which you drop those, but Ukraine obtained those before, and now there is the help for $373.6 million. Fantastic, but again, it's the sale of the weapon. It's not the help that goes directly for Ukraine. No, Europeans are paying for that, and that's the part of the 90 billion euro loan that was agreed with Ukraine. So this is the scheme. So yeah, this tool is very effective. I saw lots of the videos coming from the front lines of how Ukraine drops those from MiG-29s, from other aircraft, but Russia has different strategy. They also have JDAMs, gliding bombs, but they're not that precise. So they use very big bombs, like for example FAB-3000, which devastate the area entirely. But Ukraine is capable for small, precise strikes. But unfortunately, Russia upscaled the production of their gliding bombs, and they use those all around the front lines, especially nowadays in Konstantinivka. Well, those are Ukrainian drone interceptors Antonov 28 and helicopter Mi-24. You see how many of the drones they shut down? This is crazy. Soon they will be all painted in those drones. I think in the future they should put like one symbol of the drone X5, and here you go. Because yeah, this is hilarious. I would never have thought that Antonov 28 could be that successful against Shahid drones, because it's not even a small fighter like from the Second World War. It's just a transport airplane. But with a Gatling cannon, and also nowadays Ukraine put the drone interceptors on this airplane, this thing is really capable, and I guess other countries should take an example and also develop their air fortress against the drones. Guys, about the front lines, well, there's some of the news, but I want to tell about it in the next video. What I want to tell here, however, that Malaya Takhmachka is still standing for already 800 plus days. 800 plus days, guys! Yeah, the battle for Stalingrad, this decisive battle of the Second World War, lasted for 200 days. 200 days, and back then it was a very long time. But Malaya Takhmachka, 800 plus days. I wonder if it's already a Guinness record for the settlement to be at war at the front lines for that long. And Russians are being reported about their success in Malaya Takhmachka for such a long time. Yeah. Alright guys, it's all what I want to say for today, and please support my channel if you can on Patreon. The link for it is in the video description right below. You may also join membership of YouTube channel. To do it, you may press button join somewhere over here. Obviously, if you have an opportunity to support me in that way, because guys, because of your support, I'm here filming videos for you. And also, don't forget to press like to this video and subscribe for the channel. We are on the way to reach 1 million subscribers, hopefully very soon. My friends, you are amazing, you are awesome. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.